and the awesome Not Your Average Financial podcast hosted by this awesome guy, Mark Willis. We're super excited to talk about today's topic, which is combining Bank on Yourself and annuities. And what I want us to do today a little bit is give a big picture, 30,000 foot view. What is Bank on Yourself? What is an annuity? And then how they might work together in tandem or compete against each other. Let's find out as we go through our conversation today. One quick heads up, we're not going to be able to cover everything. We're not giving specific individual financial advice. Please take what we're doing today, continue your research, talk with one of us or another trusted person like our fellow Bank on Yourself professionals. There's 200 in the US and Canada that can totally rock out helping you learn and discover if Bank on Yourself and or an annuity is right for you and what kind. There's so many variations here. You got to be careful with that. So we're here to give you enough that you know what to avoid and you know what questions to ask to find the right one. Fair enough? You guys in for that?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's rock some minds today.
And as we're sharing, I think it's on YouTube. I think it's on Facebook. I think we're on LinkedIn. I'm not sure if we're on yours, Mark. But as people are joining, we want this to be interactive. So not the Brandon and Mark show, but or Brandon and Amanda, the Neelys and Mark show. That's what I was trying to say. But like how are we doing there? And I want you guys to be interactive. So somebody's there. I see somebody there. So put a little comment. Let us know you're there. And we want to hear from you live.
Yes. Okay. Mark, I'm going to kick off the first question to you. When I know a little bit about your Bank on Yourself story, how you found out about it. You've told that on your show before, your history with, finding out and being totally skeptical about it at first. What about with annuities? Did you have the same kind of skepticism when you first heard about it?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, the best thing I can say is that if Dave Ramsey said it, I believed it. I thought that it was essentially, just drippings from the honeycomb of heaven whenever Dave would rant on about Bank on Yourself. Well, if he would rant on about whole life insurance or annuities, there was generally what he's done so well among many things that he's done well. Including helping my wife and I get focused on money. So I have to give him super kudos for that. But what he has really figured out as a radio host is the power of disgust. He knows that the human emotion of disgust is about as core to, our lizard brains as it gets. And when he talks about whole life insurance and annuities, he is able with absolute professional capacity to get you to hate it and be disgusted by it. And I've always been, blown away by that as just a outsider observing his skill as a radio host. So Amanda, to answer your question, both of those tools, whole life insurance and annuities, I never thought in a million years I'd be talking about it with pros like you guys in a favorable light. What about you guys?
I would agree. Like the marketing thing and in our world, I was just talking about this with my guest earlier, is marketing and that disgust or negativity of something. It's easier clickbait, and that's what's grown him. And he understood how TikTok works before TikTok was invented, right? And how algorithm works before it was, because it's a psychology thing. And just realizing we love to be against something, not for something. And maybe that's part of why it's so hard to grow our channel and all of this, is because having safe, stable financial foundations in place isn't as sexy as I hate this stuff, and you 500% rate of return, or whatever. Bitcoin,
Yeah.
any of that stuff.
Well, then you add on to it. When we first heard about Bank on Yourself, Mark sent us a 20-some page PDF. And I was like, I don't have time for this. This seems way too much for me to deal with right now. Who has time to learn all this stuff to decide what they want to do with their money? And similarly with annuities, when I first heard about them, I was like, whoa, these are way too complicated. I don't know how anyone can take the time to really learn. And that's part of why we wanted to create this YouTube channel, to give people snippets to help you learn a little bit over time, get excited about it so you can see, oh, I should look more into blah, 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 to see if it's important to me, prioritize how I'm making financial decisions. Because guess what? They're impacting me every single day. And so if I take a little bit of time, learn more about it, I'm ready to make sure they're impacting me positively instead of negatively. But there's that kind of initial hump to get over of all the learning.
Well, look, I think when you just ask them, do you like annuities? They generally repeat back what they've heard from their favorite radio host or author or financial infotainer. But if you ask them, do you want guaranteed income that lasts as long as you live? There's an overwhelming positive feedback loop for that. And in fact, if I may, I'm going to try to share my screen here quickly. I'll see if I can share this with you guys. I just saw this today. This is a Fidelity study, and it's posted by CNBC, but it's all over the interwebs right now. Yeah, just posted today as of this morning. And the key points from the article are, amid ongoing high inflation and economic uncertainty, nearly half of retirees expect to outlive their savings. Now, if that's not a wake-up call for what you guys are talking about together today, I don't know what is. I mean, we just went through, as the Fidelity study says, account balances in 401ks lost nearly 25% of their value in 1 year. So the downside here is those that don't know about annuities are ignorant at their peril, because annuities protect from both of these bullet points if you do it right. Now, we'll quickly add, and I'll pass it back to you guys, but I can quickly add that there are plenty of nasty, dirty annuities that you should be disgusted by.
Yeah.
And maybe you guys can talk about that some, but there's certainly plenty of bad annuities that I would agree with Dave Ramsey on, but he doesn't have a corner on truth. And those that are watching that are as big a fanboy of Dave Ramsey as I used to be, keep an open mind. He did not write the fifth gospel on money. He has his place. And again, he helped my wife and I big time early on in our marriage get focused on our budget. But that doesn't mean he knows everything about everything with regard to money. Nobody does. Not me, not anybody. So if this is the state of affairs right now, what are our options? What can we do to fight against market craziness and people out? Nearly half of the survey participants believe they will outlive their savings. What's the alternative?
Could I add one thing? If I looked at that, it said savings, and if you go up a little bit, what's the title? Retirees lost 23 of their savings, 401k savings. That's a problem right there. And I just kind of saw that 401k is an investment, not savings. That's key, which probably Dave will say, no, it's not, whatever. But savings and investing are two different things. And this is one of the problems, because the banks have learned that it doesn't incentivize us to save, right? And it incentivizes us to risk. And then we lose. We didn't have that. That was not ours anyway. It was investments. So that was something I think is miss. I don't know what I don't mismarketing or something that's going on where we can't say certain things, but yet they can. And savings is different than investing. And having a foundation, river of money, I think the annuity world and the life insurance world plays by different rules than what they can do, which is boggling to me.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So we're now down, according to this survey, to an average 401k balance, which again, we can talk about why I'm not a fan of that word average, but I agree with you. I'm not a fan of that word 401k savings either, Brandon. But let's just talk about brass tacks. Guys, the average 401k in this country is $103,900, 103 grand, 103 grand. Now that's people just getting started, and that's people, getting close to retirement. All of that's getting averaged in there. But even if it was twice that number for the person just getting ready to retire, and while we're talking, I'll pull up the median 401k balance for someone in their 50s. I'll pull that up, or if one of you guys wants to, that's fine. But this is a paltry sum. I know it looks like a lot, but how long can 103 grand really last you at your current spending level? If you're watching this, ask yourself, can 103 really take you to the promised land? Can it give you 25 years of retirement income? I don't think so. Amanda, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, even if you're following the 4% rule, which we can talk about how that doesn't work anymore either, that's $4,000 a year on $100,000 balance. Or if you've got 200, that's $8,000 per year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is that per month? That's like $350 a month.
Yeah.
And something I think about and why I wanted to bring this topic up, like it was my idea to talk about the idea of annuities and banking yourself, and where banking yourself is really, really good. It's not all that we do. And when people come to us, they tend to think, oh, well, you're just trying to get me into a life insurance policy or whatever. And I'm like, no, I want to like get you to a dead without any unnecessary risks. Right. That's really what I want to do. Have a good foundational assets. Some may be annuities, some may be your business, some may be banking yourself. But the idea of and why we do full financial analysis, and people are sometimes get all upset about it, saying, oh, well, that's too much information. I'm like, well, it's only your future in your life. That's why we want to talk about this. And the idea that banking yourself offers that pool of money that we can access and use, but the annuity offers a river of money, almost like Social Security income and things like that. So love to talk about what's the difference between the pool, the river. Why is that important to us?
Well, before we get there, because I definitely want to talk about how are banking yourself and annuities different from each other? Do they compete? Well, how does that work? Let's talk about one important thing you said there, Brandon, where it's the whole difference between risk and safety.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people believe that if you've got safety, you're not going to get growth. And if you want growth, you've got to take risk. And we talk a lot when in the banking yourself world about how it's about protecting and growing your money, giving you safety and growth. And that's pretty revolutionary that you could have both combined. We're told you got to speculate to accumulate, no risk, no reward. So let's talk for a second about how does banking yourself do both the safety and the growth? And then let's turn that around and say, does that apply for annuities too?
That's great. Yeah. So Mark, what do you say on that? Like, do you think that you have to do one or the other, or can it be both? Or I have lots of opinions about it, but
Amanda, ask the question maybe a slightly different way.
Yeah, hold on. Okay, I'm going to go to the screen share now because this is maybe, let's see.
Go for it.
I've never shared my screen on this platform before. I got to figure out how to do this. Oh, here it is. Ha. Okay. So on the right here is Bank on Yourself personalized analysis that I put together for a fictional Wilma Flintstone. And one of the
I
first
thought she
things
was real. What? Wilma's not real?
one of the first things it says here is have a financial strategy that is safe and grows both predictably and guaranteed. Pretty revolutionary concept there. And then here's a similar personalized analysis and proposal for Wilma, as if she's going to do an annuity. And it says almost the same thing here. Have a financial strategy that is safe, grows at a predictable rate, and is guaranteed never to lose value due to a market downturn. Are these both saying the same thing? How does that work?
You were breaking up there at the last 10 seconds there, Amanda. Say that last part again.
Yeah, are those both saying the same thing? Does Banking Yourself and Annuities do safety and growth differently or the same? And that's
There's
kind
a
of where we
lot
need to
of-
define what these are
Yeah.
probably for people.
Well, yeah, safety and growth are both words I hear a lot of people asking for, especially this year after the market did what it did last year and likely is not done doing this year or next or the next or the next. They need
Yep.
growth because of inflation and other reasons, and they need safety due to market madness and drama across the world right now. So there are similar elements to this. They are both issued by an insurance company that uses something we call the law of large numbers. The nerds call it actuarial science, but it's essentially the capacity to handle a large pool of information. And if that sounds crazy to you, think of a Plinko board. You know the Plinko game that they have on The Price is Right? I want you to imagine you as yourself, your sole person, as one little chip at the top of that Plinko board. And down at the bottom of this Plinko board, of course, there's all these little wooden pegs all along the journey there. And as this little Plinko chip goes down, it's going back and forth, right and left. And at the bottom, there's a bunch of disasters. There's lava, but then there's one little sea island of happiness, an oasis of safety and success at the bottom. Or on the Price is Right game, it's where you win the $1,000 or whatever. All the others are failure, except you might win a little prize there in the middle. Now, the trouble is we are one little chip going down life's Plinko board, and there's going to be certain years in the market where you feel good, you're bouncing the right direction.
Yep.
And there's going to be certain years in the market where you bounce the wrong way. And it might not just be the market. It could be your life. You could be disabled this year, God forbid. You could lose your job. You could get a pay raise. You could have another kid. You could have all these things happen to you. And it's like your little Plinko chip is, in some ways, you sort of have it happen to you. Now, we like to believe in control, and I think you can influence your environment, but there's some things you just can't control. So over your lifetime, you're blinking down that board. Now, that's how most people feel. And I want to talk about something a little bit different from that to finally answer your question, Amanda. But first of all, guys, do you guys have any feedback on how it feels for the average American to be going down this Plinko board with their 401k money, their retirement money, their life, really their whole life?
Yeah, I mean, that's why a lot of people don't want to touch financial matters because they're like, how much can I really control anyway?
Right. Yep.
Or they just give it up and say, well, that'll do it. That's going to make it, maybe. And they just put their head in the sand, right, on that. And so, and then life throws something, right? I was just talking about the volatility idea with somebody earlier on a show, and they said we're having a lot more volatility. Well, I remember having the coffee shop and having a flood in our business, and that was very local to me, not to anybody else in the business or around, but it was very volatile for my situation. And I was really glad that I had the Banking Yourself strategy in place to be able to overcome it. Right.
Yeah.
But then also there's the volatility of where I think life insurance is good, is dying too early, making sure your family is protected in case something happens, right? That's what life insurance is. But there's also a volatility kind of living too long, right? And insurance companies understand there's two types of risks: dying too early, protecting your family, right? And then there's the other part of, oh, what if I run out of money? I only have $100,000. How can I amplify that? And what can we do to make it last? That's why I love annuities, is because I can use some of those assets that are going down right now, protect them from going down another 22% next year, because that could happen, right? And put it into a place that is able to mitigate that, maybe get some good growth possibly. But it's not really about growth as much as making sure I have income. And that's really what it comes down to. It's cash flow. That's why I love infinite banking, banking yourself, and why I love working with real estate investors. Is it's the cash flow is the game.
Okay, so you're so right. Cash and cash flow are the game. Okay, so I'm going to show the game, and then I'm going to pass it back to you guys. And Amanda, I know you have some stuff you want to share. So if I can finally answer your question, I'm sorry to drag that out like that, but
You're good.
I have two quick things to show on the screen, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Keep things interesting. Got to keep sharing the screen. So let me share my screen here. Okay, wait a minute. I'm going to try that again. Going to try sharing the screen.
And while he's sharing, don't forget, put some comments there. I want to hear from you guys. Are we on the right track? What do you want to know about banking yourself and annuities and how they can work together?
Okay, you ready, Mark?
Let's do it. All right. So guys, you guys know that the Plinko board is a major fun game on The Price is Right. So this is how it feels to go through your life with most of your money in things that you can't access and control. Here's what it feels like. You drop that little chip and down she goes. And you don't know if you're going to the positive or the negative. And well, hey, that one worked out great. Well, that's cool. Then do it again, right? You don't get to do this chip over again. You get one little life. In the game, you can win $35,000, right? But in your real life, you might end up with $35,000 in your 401k, or you might end up at $0, and nobody knows. That's the whole problem. When you don't have the law of large numbers at your disposal, you could end up with $350. Now, here's the thing. Here's the best way I can describe the law of large numbers. When you own the entire board, and not just one little chip, but you have all the chips, it looks more like this. Turn your little sand timer over and look at that beautiful symmetry. Look at that. I'm going to show that again. So get that all the little pieces and parts, turn it over, and look at that. Look at that random dropping into beautiful symmetry, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll show it one more time. This is like hundreds of little chips, but it always goes into a similar design at the bottom. So what if you had an annuity or a life insurance contract where no matter what the market did, no matter what your life threw at you, you knew with absolute precision the outcome before you even started the game, the Plinko game. You knew what the outcome would be. Look at that beautiful symmetry there. Out of chaos comes order. And I think that's the best picture I can share with folks of what it means. And that's called a Galton board if folks want to go get one of those. But that's what I'm talking about. When I'm talking about annuities and life insurance, it's where you own the entire board. You have a piece of the mortality credits that come from owning a life insurance contract or annuities. Okay, I'm off my soapbox. Amanda, I want you to take it away before I keep rambling.
Okay, so here's what if I were to say the same thing that Bank on Yourself and annuities solve for, I would summarize it in, with Bank on Yourself, we talk about an acronym, TGIF, tax advantaged guarantees backed by a life insurance company that can meet those guarantees. I is for insurance, it is life insurance, and then F, financing. You can access your money when and how you want to. Annuities have some tax advantages, a little bit different, but still advantaged tax-wise. There are guarantees to it in terms of how the protection of your value. You can choose a fixed rate of increase or follow an index, things like that. If you're in a fixed index annuity, it is insurance, just a different kind of insurance, right? Like life insurance is protection in case you die too young. Annuities are protection in case you live too long. The big difference is probably the financing part. If annuities aren't as liquid, they're not as accessible as like high cash value dividend paying whole life insurance like we use. But here's what's amazing for those who are in retirement, depending on how they've built their portfolio. And I'm going to do another screen share for this one because this is one of my favorite calculators to nerd out on. And I've seen this before. I had to build my own. So there might be some things wrong with it. You can let me know if you see something wrong. But here's what we're going to do. Let's say you've got $100,000, average 401k person. This is the year 2000 with the S&P 500 with dividends through the year 2019 with S&P 500 with dividends. If you're not touching your money, holy cannoli, your 100,000 turns into 239,000. And if we reverse that, we put 2000 at the end, we put 2019 at the beginning, you end up with the exact same amount. It doesn't matter what sequence of returns you get. But let's say you're 4 years from retirement. This is what you're expecting to happen. And in 5 years, you're going to turn on income. And you started with 100,000. You're like, I'm going to follow the 4% rule. So let's just put 4,000 in there. And let's see what happens. You take out just $4,000 a year. You end up still with 100 grand. That looks pretty good. But let's see what happens on the other side. You end up with 181,000. How did that happen? It's because the sequence of the returns changes the what results that you get. Here we've got the negative happening in those few years before retirement, and here we have the negative happening well into retirement. Now,
and that's 4,000 a year.
A year, yeah,
a year,
which is not a lot to live on, right?
Yeah,
and you gave us the average 401k balance there again.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's what I was just wanting to point out there. A year, not a month.
And we only took this out 20 years. 1 out of 10 people are living to age 95 now. So probably your retirement's going to be longer than 20 years, depending on when you retire and if you're going to live to 95 or 85 or what have you. But let's play around with it. If you did 10,000 and we just take that down, let's put those in. Let's see how long our money lasts with 10,000.
It won't. Yeah, it's gone.
It won't. Yeah, it's totally gone. Okay. But here we've got a lot left. Depends on when the market falls, right?
So when are we out of money over on the left? Can you tell us how that might feel at what age? And, let's say we're 65 when we retire. Give us a number there, Amanda. But so how old are we when we finally run out of money?
So it's 13 years in when we're in the negative
78
territory.
yees old.
78.
So are they even still hiring at Walmart at that point?
Right. So sad. I'm sorry for laughing. Because this is real. This is what people experience, right? Here's where banking yourself fits in. Let's say you've also got a pile of money in a banking yourself policy, and you're in this scenario. This year, when the market goes down 35%, let's say you use the money in your banking yourself policy instead of the money from this investment that's in the S&P 500. Now we added 2 extra years. We don't run out of money for another 2 years. And that's just 1 year where we're able to use a pool of money that's safe and accessible to us that we could continue at our income for a little bit longer, right? And we could do that other years, maybe when it only goes up 2%, maybe we use our bank and yourself policy again too. Now we've made it another couple years. And if put this 10x, that's just going to make it that much bigger of a difference.
Amanda, let me just say again what you already said so well, but I'm going to bring it way down for me. And what you just said was somebody had $100,000 in their 401k, but they smartly saved 2 years worth of money in a whole life policy, 2 years worth of income, which we can't see on this particular screen. Certainly you could show us an illustration of a whole life policy, but You're just saying 2 years, that's $20,000 in this person's. So all he needed to have was $20,000 of cash value and similarly have a 401k. And what you're saying here is that if during the down years, like you have there in 2008 and you did it again in 2011, when we're not removing money out of that 401k in our example here, instead we're spending money out of our life insurance. You're saying that because of that, he's able to last, his retirement money can last much longer than if he or she was pulling money out during down years in the market. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's just having two assets, and you're referring to what sometimes they call this the buffer strategy or the volatility buffer strategy.
Yep.
Yep.
It's just a beautiful thing, and I love that you've done this, Amanda. What a cool spreadsheet.
Thanks. Let's talk about annuities, right?
Yeah,
so maybe if you had a big enough annuity, you could take a 10% free withdrawal if you've got the right company that allows for that, and maybe do something similar. But more likely, you're going to maybe have let's say you've got 100,000 in your 401k, and you decide a few years before retirement you're going to move about half of that into an annuity, and so now you've got 50,000 here, and now you're going to just take out 5,000 instead of 10,000 because you've got the annuity providing extra income. You notice you still get to a negative. And it happens in 2012, same year, because this is all math proportional. But because you've got that half of your money is guaranteed or predictable to come to you, it's something you can count on and hopefully is increasing as the index you're following increases. You could say, oh, this year I'm not going to take out that 5,000 because I've got the 5,000 from my annuity, or make it 50,000, or whatever. This year I'm going to eat a little more frugally, maybe not take that big trip I was going to take, but I know I can at least buy my groceries, pay my mortgage if I still have one, things like that. And you can essentially do the same thing that we were just doing, right? And make your money last a little longer. Maybe here, because you've got the 5,000, you can only take out 3,000, right? You've got more optionality with your investments because you've got the savings, the foundational wealth, the income that you can count on no matter how long you live. But wait, there's more. What's awesome about this is here you run out of money still in 2015 in your 401k in this example. With the annuity, it keeps going even if your account value runs out of money. So you'd still have the 5,000, even if you live to 120 years old. They keep sending you the income every single month or every single year, depending on how long you're taking it, for as long as you're alive, or if you make it a joint annuity, as long as you or your co-annuitant are alive.
So like your husband, wife, if you're wanting to take income without fear of running out of money, which again was the primary concern of most retirees, and half of all participants in the Fidelity study believe that they will outlast their savings. If that's true, why aren't annuities the default option for every American? Somebody answer that question. Because this solves the problem. It has solved it for thousands of years.
Yeah, and Amanda, did you hear? Is he echoing a little bit?
It was breaking up a little bit, but I think I caught it.
Okay. Yeah. So I think Mark is saying, like, why aren't people doing this? And maybe it's because Dave Ramsey, going back, is everything is in the market and we need to invest everything. And when this is something I think a lot about, is as people are going into retirement, maybe we need to change the game a little bit and go from, and this is something that no one talks about, is this preservation of what they did accumulate and then distribution. Because accumulation is great, but we're also seeing decumulation right now, which sucks. And no one wants that, especially when you're about near retirement. So what do? Well, we need to think in a different way of saying, okay, I made all of this. What is my preservation strategy? Which again, it's a different game. So preservation isn't what Wall Street loves to talk about. They love to say, well, accumulate, just keep going in the market, it'll bounce back. But we need to think again why annuities are helpful is the preservation, because in the end, it all matters of how much money can I have in distributing for as long as I live.
Yeah. I love asking people this question. Which one of these do you want to skip? And most of the time the answer is none of them. I want to make sure I accumulate wealth. I want to make sure I preserve that wealth so I can't lose it. And then I want to distribute it, actually use it within my lifetime, whole die with zero kind of philosophy out there, which I love. But I don't hear too many people talking about, well, how do you preserve it? Probably because they're not going to make that much money off of, safe savings, foundational wealth. Just doesn't pay as many fees and commissions.
Well, and then
you brought
they're
up
told, well, annuities are all bad. That's why.
Yeah,
so
that too.
They don't think about that. But anyway, we brought up something else, right? We were going to say, Mark?
Well, okay. I can either go one of two directions or none of these, and you guys can take us in a new direction altogether. I've got a calculator that can show the fees on an annuity, and we can compare that to, say, the typical parking spots for most people's retirement money. So if you're listening, vote, tell us there, or you guys feel free to chime in too. We can go through a battle royale, and I'd love to know if you had to have just bank on yourself or just an annuity, which one would you absolutely vote for and why? And or anywhere else you guys want to go.
Well, I want to talk about this fee thing because I think that's a big reason people don't buy or don't look more into a bank on yourself type whole life policy. And one of the big misconceptions about annuities with whole life insurance, they see those upfront costs of life insurance before the cost of before the guaranteed growth and dividends kick in, and they don't want to pay those costs up front, even if it means they're going to get bigger growth later on. One of the biggest things that honestly they're there. We don't sugarcoat them. That's just one of the things. They have to be willing to make that sacrifice to get the long-term results. And then with annuities, I want to remind people there are 19, maybe more different kinds of annuities. And I think I like maybe 2 or 3 of them. And some of the ones I don't like do have a lot of fees. I was actually looking at someone's annuity. It was a variable annuity, and her balance this past year went down, just like all the 401ks and stuff out there that we were seeing in that report. And she was still charged a couple thousand in fees on that variable annuity. And she was not okay with that. And I was like, I'm not okay with that for you either. So we're not talking about that. We're talking about other kinds of annuities that could have 0 fees or very low fees. Mark, can you talk to us about that a little bit more?
Before we go into that, I want to also say is go to our last video that we did of infinite banking and banking yourself as a group, right? Because not all life insurance is the same. Not all annuities are the same, and why I again want to do this video of how we are different in looking at building that stable foundation, because that's the problem. If we are saying that it's this way, and Dave pulls out a variable annuity, well, yes, I agree wholeheartedly. That's not the best thing to do, right? But what is the thing we want to accomplish? And knowing that there are benefits with annuities right now, like even though there's fees, there's income rider bonuses that are pretty big right now. And so like understanding how can I recapture my loss to have more income. And so fees are good sometimes, depending on what's the outcome, really.
Amanda, have you got a calculator on the cost of insurance? Because we could talk through the commission comparison, or we could talk about the full cost And I could maybe talk through either one of those, but I'd be just curious what your thoughts are there.
Yeah, and I mean that's something that's so individualized per person, per policy. I was just talking to a couple earlier today, and the gentleman, the husband in the couple, his policy looked like it had a lot more cost to it short term. In those first few years, if we compared the cash value with the premiums that he put in. Whereas his wife, she was a little younger, female, little lower death benefit that we got for her. Her costs looked like they were way less than his. But then we zoomed out and we looked 20 years into the future and we saw, whoa, his grows way more than hers, partly because of his bigger death benefit, which seems to cost more in the beginning, gets better dividends over time because dividends are calculated based on the death benefit. And so that's where a lot of people can get hung up, is on that short term. If you only look at the first few years, oh, how much does this cost? And I agree with them. Like, yeah, it's going to cost you more than term in those first few years. But we've done some really great episodes together comparing, the difference in fees of buy term and invest the rest versus bank on yourself, and what the fees actually add up to. I'll try to find that video and put it in the chat. I was actually just sending it to somebody else earlier today, so I bet I can find it easy.
Cool. All right.
But and I would say the cost isn't always fees. Negative 22% in the market is a big cost that people are facing right now. That I'm like, they were sold this and now 22%. That's for every dollar, that's a quarter gone. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not a that is a cost.
Well, I'm going to share my screen again, and if that's okay, I might be able to have some fun here. So, and I'd love to get your feedback on this, guys, because nothing is free except for the cheese on the wrong end of a mousetrap. So beware of things when they are free, including the free company match in your 401k, by the way. And fees are a dramatic disaster zone in your retirement future if you don't pay attention to them. According to the Department of Labor, over 35 years, which is typical for most people as they invest in their 401k and then retire with that money. Sometimes you're going to live longer than 35 years with that 401k in your hands. A 35-year zone means 27% of your entire 401k balance is eviscerated because only of fees, if you have the average fee of just 1% in your 401k. Actually, the average is a higher fee than that. But if you just had a 1% fee, according to the Department of Labor, basically a third of your money is gone just due to stinking fees. And this means that your investment planner, or one of the big wirehouses, or whoever is managing your 401k, they are getting a guaranteed stream of income from you. So doesn't guaranteed stream of income, where have I heard that before in this live video today? So yeah, they're getting an annuity income from you, your fees. Isn't that generous of you if you own a 401k? So again, nothing is free, but what does it buy us? That's what I want to think about for just a minute. Now, the first thing I'll just mention is that there are no assets under management fees on fixed annuities. There are no wrap account fees. There are no 12B1 fees. There are no, help me out. What else are there? There's no fund fees. Yep. So what we're looking at is a very lean, sleek, and lean financial product. The only piece to this puzzle that I would say that you might have a fee on is an income rider. And Brandon, you brought this up earlier. So again, nothing's free. What is the income rider fee? Well, it could be 1% of your account value, which sounds a lot like an assets under management fee. But let's stop and think about it. What is an accumulation value or an account value? That's just the bucket of money on which they calculate the value, the net worth of your annuity. Okay, so that's fine. I don't like fees. I don't have to have an income rider if I don't want one, and I can have zero fees. A MYGA, for example, multi-year guarantee annuity, has zero fees on it. None. I can't find that on Wall Street. There's no charitable mutual funds offering no fees. So a MIGA has no fees. If you don't want a fee, go with a MIGA or something like a MIGA, a multi-year guarantee annuity. If, on the other hand, you want guaranteed lifetime income, I'll pay a fee for that. It doesn't come out of my pocket. I'm not writing a check for that fee. It just comes out of my accumulation value. Meanwhile, my income is not inhibited by that fee. In other words, the money I'm getting out of that annuity isn't smaller because of this fee. Does that distinction make sense? Like if I had a 401k paying a fee on that 401k, I'm going to have less money in my 401k, and thus I'll have a smaller income. With an annuity, my income, my retirement money is not diminished because of an income rider fee. Now, this may or may not, this folks are like, well, Mark, what are you talking about? It can have a dramatic impact on your income. Just the fees part. We're not even talking about the advantages of how efficient annuities can be in your retirement. But if we're just talking about fees, if the Department of Labor is correct, then that means your income on a 401k would be about a third smaller than you would have had you had no fees on your 401k or IRA. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Oh, yeah.
Fees matter. If you're not getting that income, if you're not paying a fee, you have a larger income.
Love it. That is such really well said, Mark. Thank you so much for pointing that out. I'm going to steal that and repeat that over and over again. And you're bringing up MIGAs. I think that's something to look into, multi-year guaranteed annuities. And I loved your recent episode on the Not Your Average Financial podcast about MIGAs, how they're different from certificates of deposit, CDs at the bank, and also what's similar about them. So if anybody's listening, you love CDs, you're for sure going to want to check out that episode. Yeah. Well done. I've been using the content from that episode a lot when people are looking for that kind of solution.
It was episode 280. Oh my God. And if you want a life of no fees in your retirement, here's a quick strategy. MIGA SPIA. MIGA SPIA. And that means nothing to most people. So a multi-year guarantee annuity is basically going to grow on a guaranteed basis. You know, every 3 to 5 years, you just re-up for your next MIGA. And there's no fees there. Do that for 20 years, 30 years, whatever. And then a SPIA has no fees on it, a single premium immediate annuity, and it will pay you a stream of income guaranteed for life with no fees on it, guaranteed for life. That's a lifetime of no fees. It pays very little commissions, so very few financial advisors are going to talk about the MIGA SPIA, but it's a solid strategy if you want guaranteed growth and if you want guaranteed income. So that's talk about accumulation, preservation, distribution, like Brandon, you were talking about. That's a great strategy. So that's the annuity side. We probably have only a few minutes left. Should I go down the road of what does whole life insurance cost, or should we move to another project?
I think we should move to the next thing, because I do have an amazing meeting at the top of the hour. I need to make sure I'm ready for. But the thing that I would love to do as a way of wrapping up here is talk about the combining part. We haven't even gotten to that. And share, each of us share one thing that we love about combining Bank and Yourself and annuities. Okay.
Yeah.
Brandon, I can tell you really want to talk.
I really wanted to say more of like, as I'm in this, I love Bank and Yourself. I'm a business owner. I'm an entrepreneur. And that idea of liquidity and access to grow my wealth is really, really important to me. But I'm also seeing that a lot of my clients are dealing with parents who are coming close to retirement, or they're being caretakers or that kind of thing. And what I'm finding is I'm talking a lot about annuities, because guess what's going to happen? Those people who have policies are having to deal with mom and dad now and figure out that situation. And for me, I'm thinking it isn't an either or. It's usually a both and. And how do we level up the game? So as I build my business, Bank and Yourself helps me grow my business, right? And then I want to take money off the table. If this is like the casino and we're all in Vegas, what I'm telling people a lot right now is saying, could you take money off the table, not lose it, because you can still recapture it with the bonuses and stuff like that, and be able to still have the same thing and be able to keep that same level and maybe go up. And so it's a staged theory or staged idea that it's not either or. As a business owner, I love having access to capital and not paying taxes. But as a income in the future, I want to make sure that I don't have to worry that I ran out of money because of Tesla or Bitcoin or whatever. I want to make sure I'm solid. And I want to make sure my parents are and my clients' parents are. That's my mic drop moment. There you go. So
Love it.
This is why you guys should reach out and say, hey, how do I take care of mom? Because unfortunately, we're going to have to deal with that stuff soon.
Yeah. Look, the life insurance cash value is there for today, and all of the liquid needs we are going to need in our life right now. How many cars will you buy? How many houses? How many kids do you have to get through college? Annuities can't help you there. Not too much. And then what's the problem with bank on yourself? Why not just get 100 bank on yourself policies and be done with it? Well, they're a finite bucket of money, as you said earlier, Brandon. Yep. And so the annuity can be a great tool for making sure we solve for issues and risks like living too long, which is the weirdest risk in the universe, in my opinion, living too long, but it's a big one. Apparently, half of all retirees see it as the big risk for them as their future. So yes, a combination of bank on yourself designed policies, whole life, and annuities can solve. I mean, tell me a risk, financial risk, a major financial risk that those two products together, like nitro and glycerin, tell me a risk that they don't at least mitigate some. Help me. Somebody, anybody. I mean, really.
Yeah, love it.
We can thank the healthcare industry for helping us live too long and all of that, which is just good, But I just think, hey, the healthcare industry has done some amazing work. Now we're living too long. Let's make sure we can still eat real food.
Amanda, I got to know what's on your mind.
Yeah, so that sequence of returns calculator I was showing you, and we talked about the different options that you have with when you have a pool of money, like you get with the cash value of a bank on yourself type whole life policy, and then the options you have with a river of money, like you get when you have an annuity. What if you get to have all the options? Like, who doesn't want more options, especially when we get to a time in our life when it feels like our options are being taken away, right? It's harder to go find a job. We have to get this medical care. There's no way we can't not pay for it. All the things, right? We have to depend on others. This gets to be a place where I can depend on myself and an institution that has been doing some really amazing stuff for over 100 years. I can't imagine being 70, 80 years old and being excited about having fewer options. I want more. And the more I can build for myself, here sitting in my late 30s, the more my future looks bright and I can sleep well at night for it along the way as well.
Amanda, that's so cool. And one thing I really love about you guys is that you're helping people have more options. You're not painting your clients into a corner. You're helping give them options. So thank you for the work you guys both do. And thanks for letting me be in between you today. I'm on, the way I see it, I'm kind of in between the two lovebirds here. So I was thinking maybe you guys would be kissing me on the cheek at some point here, trying to get to each other. But thanks for having me on your show today.
Yeah, our son probably watches this with my mom right now, which happy birthday, Mom. It's her birthday today.
Happy birthday.
And he would not like us kissing each other. He's at that age where he thinks it's gross. So you're safe. We know he's watching. We're not going to do that. Okay, I'm going to run and go change somebody's financial future. Thank you for being here, Mark. Thanks for letting me talk, Brandon. No, just kidding. And we'll see you all next month. Hopefully we'll do some really awesome stuff on the channel. So hit that subscribe button. Make sure you tune in.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks for
Thank
being
you.
here, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.